Hello dear friends, welcome to the next episode of Karate Essentials. This is your host Sensei Fayad. I'm so overwhelmed with the support, the comments and the constructive critics that you have sent me for my first video which I posted a few days ago. And I'm also so happy to know that it has benefited a lot of people. So here we are with the second part of it. In this session, we will be covering about the basic postures in karate and also a few transitional moves. So, without any further delay, let's go to the training. Mutsubi. We have already spoken about this position in the last session. This is a formal position that we normally use to bow or to show your respect. This is Hachiji. Your heels are hip width apart and your edge of your toes are shoulder width apart. We call this stance Hachiji is because the position of your feet looks like the Japanese kanji character number 8. So in Japanese we call 8 hachi, hence this is called Hachiji. In some schools this is called Soto Hachiji because the Soto means outward. So this is a Soto Hachiji, or we call it just Hachiji, and of course in many other schools they call this a Shizen Dairachi, which means natural position. This is the way you normally stand in your day-to-day life. When you are standing somewhere, you stand like this with your feet apart. This is a very relaxing position. You can see the same in the stand at ease. This position is like standing at ease. We normally use this stance to relax and to do a few basic techniques, to be ready or yoi. When the sensei says yoi, all students are expected to do a yoi position by keeping your hands here to show that they are ready, and they do it normally in this position. Shiko, a very interesting stance, also known as squat stance or sumo stance. Japanese sumo wrestlers use this position before they start competing. This stance is a close cousin of the popular kibarachi position of Shotokan style. But unlike kibarachi, we keep our toes opened. Now we have Zenkutsutachi, which literally means front bent stance or front leg bent stance, or you can also say forward stance technically. Most of the schools teach the weight distribution should be slightly more on the front. Let's say 60% on the front and 40% on the back. As per our system, we follow the concept of Inoue Hashitoryu, which was founded by the legendary teacher Yoshimi Inoue Sensei. According to his principles, the weight distribution should be equal on your both legs in order to keep your body in the center. You know, when you keep things in the center, it is way more relaxing and easier to balance. Your back leg must be straight, but it depends on how flexible you are. If your muscles are not flexible enough, you just make it straight as much as you can. It is not necessary to completely lock your knee and make it a perfect line. Your knee must be above your heel. If you extend your knee beyond that point, you are giving excessive pressure to your knee. And if you pull it back all the way in, over here, this means your stance is too weak. So the perfect position of bending your leg must be your knee above your heel. Now we have Moto, which is also called foundational stance. This is a shorter version of Zenkutsutachi, in which your feet are slightly closer than that of a full-length Zenkutsu. The good thing about this position is you have better mobility and hip flexibility than that of a Zenkutsudachi position. in the transitional movements, we give 3 types of movements for the beginners. Keeping this as a base, what do you call this position? Yes, you are right, Hachiji dachi. Okay? By keeping this as a base position, you will learn how to move to Shiko dachi by moving to the left, by keeping your body straight, then how to come back in, then same, you go to the right, then you come back in, then how do you go to Zenkutsutachi? By moving your left leg, then coming back, how do you move to the right? By moving your right leg, and the same, how do you go to Moto and come back, and Moto and come back. So these are the 3 transitional moves that we expect a white belt student to have proper understanding before they move to the yellow belt. Now let's see how do you move from Hachiji dachi to Shiko dachi. Always remember, when you are standing in Hachiji dachi, you are way too tall, and Shiko dachi, as you have seen, is a very low stance. So from Hachiji dachi, when you go to Shiko dachi, make sure that you drop your body down a little bit. So a little bit drop, by keeping your body in the center, you move and you position in Shiko dachi with your legs open. Then how do you come back? Then you come back the same way. Then you again go down a little bit and move to the right. Then come back. Then you move to the left. Then you come back. Then you move to the right and come back. Always make sure that at the finishing point, your legs are open. Your hip is open. And come back. And you can also do the same thing by adding a technique. So let's start by keeping my left hand straight. So I'm going to move to my right. So what do? I drop myself. I drop and I punch. And how do I come back? I come back. Then I go to my left. First I have to drop, 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 drop and move. And how do you come back? Here. Then again on the right side. Come back. On the left. And come back. Okay. So please practice it as many times as possible. Make sure that you get the transition smooth. Now let's see the next one in this position. So I'm standing in Hachiji dachi and I'm going for Zenkutsutachi. So what do? I have to drop down a little bit. So drop down and take a long step for Zenkutsutachi. Then how do you come back? Come back. Again, drop, drop, drop and you move. And how do you come back? You need to drop, drop, drop and come back. Always remember that, okay? So whenever you start moving, you have to relax. Let's do the same thing with the block. So what do you call this block? Anybody there? Yes, you're right. Gedambarai, right? Or down low. So I'm here. Look at my position. I take a step forward by dropping myself down a little bit. Okay, down and then with the down blow. Okay, then how do you come back? Then you need to come back, relax and come back. Then I come back to you again. So again, I start with my left leg. So I have to drop myself down, drop down a little bit and block and come back. Again with my right leg. So drop down and block. And how do you come back? Here. And the last one is Moto. So in Moto, we have a very short range of motion. As I told you earlier, when you move from a very tall position to a very deep position, you always have to drop yourself down a little. But Moto is not a deep position, okay? It's also a bit high position, okay? So basically you are moving from here, a bit high, a little bit low. No big change in the height, okay? So you don't need that drop. You can just straight away go forward. So how do you do it? Move your right leg to the front, exactly the way you move for the Zenkutsutachi, but in a very short distance. Okay? Moto is a short form of forward stance. So let's work with it now. So stand in the Hachiji position, or maybe you can see me from here, this position, Hachiji position, and then you start moving forward. Okay? 1 and back, 2 and back, 3 back, 4 back, 5 back. So as you see, there is no big difference in height. Okay, so now you have gone through transitional move from Hachiji dachi to Shiko dachi, from Hachiji dachi to Zenkutsutachi, and Hachiji dachi to Moto dachi. So these are the three transitional moves you have to learn. So today we covered basic postures and transitional movements for the white belts as per the curriculum of Middle East Karate Academy, Dubai. So let's quickly go through the list. We learned Mutsubi dachi, we learned Hachiji dachi, Shiko dachi, Zenkutsutachi, and Moto dachi. And you also learned in the transitional movements how to move from Hachiji dachi to Shiko dachi, and Hachiji dachi to Zenkutsu and Hachiji dachi to Moto dachi. So next class we will discuss about the front kick and a few physical fitness requirements for a white belt student to get his dream come true, which is the yellow belt. So until we see next time, signing off, this is Sensei Fayad from Middle East Karate Academy. Thank you so much for supporting me. Us.